second. It takes a second here to record. And let you know. Welcome to Bon Jovi Discussions. Today I have my buddy Reza from London, who we were just talking about London a second ago there. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, not too bad. How you doing?
Doing good. I appreciate you staying. It's what, 10 o'clock your time right now?
Yeah,
At night?
10:15 now, yeah.
Yeah, and it's 5:15 here, so you're 5 hours ahead of me. So I appreciate you being flexible and coming on later in the evening. So
My pleasure.
Before we get into our fun topic, I always ask, how did you become a Bon Jovi fan?
I would say primarily because of the song Always. So before Bon Jovi, I was more into Michael Jackson in the 80s. And then towards the end of the 80s, I got into the band Europe, famous for the Final Countdown, and Aerosmith as well. And I remember hearing Always on the radio because I just passed my driving test. I was driving the car, didn't have a tape player. And Always was pretty much on the radio all day long, driving to and from college.
Okay.
And a friend of mine at college said to me, look, if you like Aerosmith in Europe, you're going to love Bon Jovi, try them out. So that Christmas, I bought the Crossroads album that was released. And the rest, as they say, is history. I bought These Days, which became my favorite all-time album a few months later when it was released. And that's where I've been from there, really. That's mark of history, if you like.
What's your favorite song? Is it Always still, or?
No, it's Bed of Roses.
Bed of Roses.
When I heard Bed of Roses, that song just took me away, blew me away when I heard it.
Yeah.
The intro, the vocals, and that guitar solo is just incredible.
For everyone that's watching this wondering, yes, Reza is in front of the mountains right now. He's outside in front of the mountains, as you can see. Your background.
Yeah. Okay. Well, like I said, my kitchen's a bit of a mess at the moment because I'm having some building work done, so you really don't want to see the state of it.
Yeah, I'm just kidding with you. So anyway, today we're going to talk about hopefully our top 5. We'll at least definitely get into our top 3 depending on time, but our top 3 favorite Richie guitar solos / guitar work. I know on yesterday I posted on Twitter because I was kind of curious to see what everyone else's favorite solos were, and got a lot of the same, which was cool. Got a lot of the same response, Dry County and Wanted and Bed of Roses and stuff. So before, and I know this isn't one of your top 3, so I guess we'll get into it. This one's not in my top 3, but I feel like from a fan perspective and maybe in the world of critics, I hate critics, but there's no doubt, and Dry County is absolutely Richie's best work that he's ever done in his entire career, at least with Bon Jovi. That is absolutely his best guitar work that he's ever done. Now, like I said, I know it's not in my top 5, but I know it's in yours. So I'll let you talk a little more about Dry County and what you love about it.
It's just the coolness of it, you know. If you take the first solo, for example, after the chorus, it's just his technique, the bends. I mean, I've been playing guitar for over 20 years now. I still can't master, a professional like him. But that feeling you get when he's bending those notes and the emotion that goes into it, it's just on another level. The first time I heard it, I was just taken away with it. It was just something that I never kind of heard before, because I'd heard the heavy rock solos like on, lots of Bon Jovi songs and Aerosmith and Europe as well. But I hadn't quite heard something as mellow and calm and relaxing as that first solo. And then you get the second solo, which just takes you into oblivion, doesn't it? With the start of it and the rest of it.
That's my favorite of the whole song.
And it's not a mess. You know what I mean? There's some structure to it. It's not a mess. Someone just best way to describe it, just tapping notes with one arrangement, chord arrangement. It's all over the guitar neck. It's all different octaves, etc., etc. Which is why there's variation there, which is why I love it so much. Which is why it's probably in my top three, if I include other bands, top three solos of all time.
And what I really love about Dry County is it live, and you watch almost every single performance of Dry County, and Richie rarely misses a note.
Mm-hmm.
And he makes it look so easy, but you and I both know that it is incredibly hard to play. And he does it so fast and so easy, you know. That's why I find this song so incredible. That's one of like the highlights for me of seeing it live is just watching Richie play it. And I'll give credit to Phil X too. He does an amazing job of it as well.
I've never seen it live, unfortunately. I've seen Bon Jovi, I think 5 or 6 times. I've never experienced the song live, unfortunately.
Even with Richie?
Even with Richie, yeah.
Oh man, thankfully there's YouTube videos, you know. And you know what else I wonder too about Dry County? I wonder because of, like you said, how well structured it was. You know, you could tell it took a lot of effort and time to make all these solos in this song. So I kind of wonder how long it took Richie to kind of write and record all of his guitar parts. You know, I imagine it would have taken a while.
Yeah, but what got to remember is as well, I think John does the rhythm guitar on the albums, doesn't he? So he's probably got him helping her out in terms of the rhythm fills and all that sort of thing. What I've learned playing guitar, when you're trying to create a solo, it depends on your mood really.
Yeah.
If you're smashing it that day, you can knock something out pretty much within that day. If you're struggling or your mind's not there, it may take a little bit longer. So who knows? But something like that.
Yeah, and with how
take a bit of a while.
With his experience and how incredible of a guitar player he was, I imagine that didn't take too long for him to kind of write and.
No, probably not.
But another one I wanted to mention, and I don't think this is in either of our top fives, but another song that has to be noted because it's one of Richie's best songs, guitar-wise, is "Wanted Dead or Alive."
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt. I'm not that big fan of Wanted. Now, a lot of people think I'm crazy here. I do enjoy the slippery version of Wanted. I do. I actually love the This Life Feels Right version of Wanted a lot more, but that's just me. But what I can say, though, the highlight for me to see Wanted live, even with Phil, is watching them, especially Richie, because we're talking about Richie here, playing the first 2.5 minutes on the acoustic guitar on the 12 string. Okay.
Yeah.
And
then intro.
Yeah, and then right before the guitar solo, you see him, kind of leaving the stage to change guitars, and then all of a sudden he just vroom, it's just amazing how he just rocks that guitar solo. And that's the highlight for me with that song, is that solo.
Yeah, I love the intro, the extended intro that he does. If you've seen the Live from London video from 1995, that intro is absolutely amazing. And I've seen a shortened version of that in Milton Keynes in 2001. It's about half of that, but you still get to experience that great guitar.
Are you talking about the intro before the intro of the song? Like he kind of had his own little spotlight.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep.
That's right.
I love that. And for people who are kind of confused of what we're talking about, listen to Wanted Dead or Alive on the One Wild Night CD. I forget which show that. I think that was from the Crush tour.
That was New York, I think, that year 2000.
Yeah, and so you there's like a minute there where Richie's just playing on guitar, and it's kind of like his spotlight. And speaking of spotlight, this kind of takes me into the next one. Again, last one here, but this one's not in our top 5 either. Another notable thing about how incredible a guitar player Richie was, especially on the early years, is you watch videos from the 7800 tour when Richie would do that like 5-minute guitar playing before they went into In and Out of Love.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that is incredible.
Yep, agreed. Yep, and I only became aware of that a few years ago, actually, just by YouTube recommending some videos. Hadn't seen it before.
Oh man, it's so that's probably like the highlight with me for the 7800 tour is seeing Richie just do that solo, and it's so badass. Mm-hmm. It was kind of nice to see Richie kind of get a spotlight, with John, doing his thing for a few minutes, and just Richie just shredding that guitar. That was cool to see. Yeah. All right, so let's get into our top three. So your first one was Dry County, so I guess I'll go in with my first one. My absolute favorite solo that I've ever seen him do. I don't want to say so. Also want to say guitar work as well. But my absolute favorite performance ever from the band is always from 1995 at Wembley Stadium. And the reason I mentioned that one is because of the outro. With the band does like a little 2-minute jam session at the end, and I'll just use all 95 as an example because he's also done it on other tours as well. The way that the band just comes together beautifully, and the way that Richie's is, I don't say this because I'm a Bon Jovi fan. Richie is honestly one of the best guitarists that's ever lived. And what I really love about his guitar playing is that he is so soulful, and he makes weird faces too sometimes when he's playing, but that's the fun of it. But when he's closing his eyes, like in this Always performance, his eyes are closed, he's not missing a note, and it's like he's pulling sincerity and purity and emotion from his heart and pouring it in the guitar, and it comes and translates well to the audience, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's described.
Yeah, and I think like that solo for Always just really took that song to another level. For example, I love the original Always that's on the Crossroad album, but compared to the Wembley '95 performance, the original is generic. I absolutely just have to always listen to the live version now because of that outro solo.
Do you know what? I'm the same, but I prefer the MSG version from 2007.
2008. Yeah, that
2008. I love it.
Yeah, that
absolutely love it.
Mm-hmm. There's also one that they did. I forget the city, but it was on the Have a Nice Day tour. I think it was on the last leg, but I don't know if that's even on YouTube, to be honest with you. But that was amazing. And he really rocked on that solo there. But yeah, that's my absolute favorite. So, what's your second favorite?
So, my best is Dry County, but my favorite is Bed of Roses.
Okay, Bed of Roses.
Yeah, Bed of Roses, because it's a proper rock ballad guitar solo, isn't it? It's a scorching guitar solo with feeling and emotion. You can feel all that in the playing, can't you? When I first heard that song, especially the guitar solo, it was just like, wow, this is incredible, absolutely incredible. And for me, there's only one solo that betters that, which is personally November Rain by Slash, the first solo. But as far as Bon Jovi is concerned, Bed of Roses is my favorite.
Yeah, there's two great things about Bed of Roses is that intro, and if you're like a really big Bon Jovi fan, Richie's sound on guitar, and that intro just screams Richie. And obviously the solo too is great. What I really like about Bed of Roses was the actual music video, and every time I listen to the song now, I just picture the music video, and I picture him on that mountain.
What, the mountain behind me?
What's that? Yeah, the mountain behind Jeff. And and playing that solo because I don't know if you have the Keep the Faith, the videos VHS, but he talks about being on that mountain, and if I recall correctly, they had to do that shot real because they did on a helicopter circling around him.
Yeah,
I think he did the solo like 2 or 3 times, and they had to get him down because it was so cold.
They had trouble getting him down, didn't they?
Yeah. Then David had to go up there as well, and oh man, but that's awesome, and I miss Richie live with that song.
There's a guy called Wayne Isham, I think, who directed it, who Richie referred to him as a nut.
Yeah,
putting on the mountain.
But it worked it because it's one of the most iconic scenes of the video,
Yeah.
And all right, so my second favorite is the solo to "I'll Be There for You." Now, I really love John's work on the guitar. I want to give John credit on that song too, because John on the rhythm guitar is really good. Basic chords, but really fun to. It's one of my favorite songs to play. But back to Richie, two notable things about that song is the intro. The da 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 da. It's easy to learn. I love playing on guitar, but it's so easy, but yet it's so good.
Mhm.
And
Effective.
yeah, and the solo, I'll Be There For You is probably one of the greatest Bon Jovi ballads ever written. And the solo itself, I think, took the song to a new level. You know, as far as emotion goes, because you really feel the song in that solo, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Because by the time you're a minute into the song, you're feeling. It's like one of those songs where you're heartbroken and you're just pouring with emotion, and then that solo comes on, and that's like the really heart grabbing part of the song is that solo.
The outro on the live versions, if you've seen the Crush video, the
Mm-hmm.
outro is amazing. Love it. Absolutely
Yeah.
love it. And I was lucky enough when I saw them that year at Wembley Stadium, they did play that song. Pretty much the same as you see in the Crush video.
Yeah. And I loved seeing Richie do it over the years. He would sing it while
Yeah.
John took a break and stuff, and so that
Mhm.
kind of took the song to another level for me. Because in the original recording, excuse me, in the original recording, he's I'm trying to find the right words to say here. In the original recording, his vocals really give an essence to the song. Like as perfect example is in the third verse, in between the two choruses, when maybe my hands are dirty, but I wanted to be your Valentine. I'll be the one
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
first, and then
Gives that extra octave, doesn't he?
well, just vocally, it's just like wow. Like him and John both there. Just that's probably one of my favorite John and Richie moments is that part right there. And so it's not just guitar on that song, but it's also vocally. He really added that because he was responsible for that song. He primarily wrote that song.
Yeah. Do you know what? I only found out about that the other day. I didn't realize that. I
Yeah,
didn't realize he primarily wrote that song.
yeah. If I recall correctly, I think he wrote most of it after a breakup, and then he took it to John, and John did like I think a couple of lines in the one of the
Yeah.
verses, I think. But Richie primarily wrote that whole song. Um, yeah. So, all right, what's your third?
Um, I put on your Twitter thing yesterday, My Guitar Lies Bleeding in My Arms, and the reason I put that is just because of the deepness of the solo. It captures the feeling of the song, and if someone's going through, what John's singing about, how you're feeling that blue, and that guitar solo for me, it just takes you there into that mood, into that feeling, where you're a little bit of despair, yet there's hope on the other side. If you see what I mean? So it starts off a bit gloomy, but it sort of builds up to a more sort of optimistic outlook, if you like.
Yeah.
Which is why I like it so much. It just takes a genius to come up with something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I love how bluesy it is, especially that intro. Most of these days it's very bluesy, which I love, which is a different style of Rich that we really haven't seen pre 1995. Maybe a little bit on Keep the Faith,
A
but
little bit of Keep the Faith, yeah.
you really didn't hear much bluesy sound in the 80s Bon Jovi. So these days album was you got a lot of bluesy um, sounding from Richie, and so My Guitar Lies Bleeding is a perfect example of that, especially that intro. I love it.
Yeah. Not heard it live, unfortunately. I think it was only played during the These Days tour and
I
hasn't been played since then.
I think it's been performed 4 times in total, maybe
Yeah.
5. But yeah,
Well,
only
that wouldn't surprise me.
I think it was done once during Crush Tour as well, and then never saw the light of day after that. But that's a
Yeah.
song I love to see it live.
It's a bit difficult to play as well because it's can't remember the tuning, but it's a different tune setup on the
Yeah,
guitar to play it.
which
And I don't like messing with my guitar, so I just tend to leave it.
They got guitar techs and they got hundreds of guitars that they take on tour. It's like Hugh McDonald. Did you know Hugh McDonald always takes a special bass on tour just in case John decides to do something to believe in because he has a special bass for it.
Mhm.
And even on tours that they've never done it, Hugh still takes it on tour, which I thought that was kind of cool. So my point here is like Richie could bring a guitar and John, because I think John plays guitar on that song too. Have it in the right tune if you decide to play. Hey, you got the guitar ready to
Yeah,
go.
they might have it in the background. You're right, but again,
Yeah,
whether they decide to or not is another matter, isn't it?
yeah. So my third favorite. So I'm gonna pull away now from all the ballads and slow stuff. My third favorite is not just the solo, but also the guitar work of the entire song. Bad Medicine. Man, I absolutely love Bad Medicine's guitar work. And the verses, it's kind of simple, but it's fun, and it's very edgy, and it just makes you wanna, it just I can't explain it, but
It
it's
gets
so
the juices
good.
flowing, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I also love right before the bum 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 bum.
Yeah,
I always wonder what it sound like on like a talk box if he would have kind of like how I do with prayer and this is love and it's my life and stuff like that. Having that talk box along with that that part. Man, I think that
yeah,
would sound really cool.
yeah,
And maybe they
yeah.
tried that in the studio, it just didn't work. But
I've seen some versions of a talkbox actually. My brother, who also plays guitar, has got a talkbox, and he does that. It does
yeah.
sound pretty nifty.
Yeah, and so that's why I think with just that part, I think there was. I've heard rumors that there was like some talks about having a talk box on that something that didn't happen, but that's just rumors. Um,
Yeah,
and the solo too is so
the
fun.
solo's mental.
Especially like right at the end of the solo, right before John comes back in. Man, I love like those high notes and the way he bends those strings
Yeah,
and that's just. There's a really fun video if you haven't seen it already, or people that are watching this listening. Look up Bon Jovi sound check Today's Show 2000 or maybe 2001. I think no, it's 2000 because they're promo and Crush. There's it's about a half hour long, and the band was doing sound check for the Today Show, and John wasn't there yet. He was running late, but the whole band was there, so they played songs like "It's My Life," "Bad Medicine," and "I'll Sleep When I'm Dead" without John there. So it was just like watching them play instrumentally. And like one of the highlights of that was like watching Richie play all the guitar work, doing the backing vocals. But they did Bad Medicine, and man, you can like hear the guitar work so distinctively.
hmm
And man, have you seen that video? You know what I'm talking about?
no, I haven't seen it. No, no.
After we do
I'll
our
search it
chat,
up.
do yourself a favor and watch that, especially the Bad Medicine portion. Anyone that's listening, trust me, it is a real gem. And I that's why I love sound check so much and like gems like that because like sometimes vocals especially when they're being recorded kind of overpower instruments. So you don't really get to hear some of the band stuff going on. And so like this Bad Medicine performance at the sound check is very distinct and it sounds really good.
Yeah, you can hear the rawness, can't you?
The rawness and
Yeah,
just it's awesome.
yeah,
So
yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
what's your so this would be your do you have a fourth?
Fourth, I think probably Have a Nice Day.
Mm,
Have a Nice
I
Day is
love
very catchy, very fast.
Yeah, I love that two neck guitar too that he played in the video, and he played it with it live on the Have a Nice Day and Lost
Oh, the
Highway.
Telecaster two neck, yeah, double neck, yeah.
Yeah, that's a beautiful guitar, and I love that that intro, the boom 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 boom. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
The solo
It's a
was
great
good,
song.
obviously.
Loved it.
What's
Mm.
that?
Great song. I loved it when it came out. I was playing it non-stop actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I think I was annoying some people, my wife especially. Oh, you're playing that song again and again. Well, it was a great song at the time, still is.
absolutely. My fourth favorite would be my fourth could change, but today I would say I'd put "Wad in the Streets"
hmm
in there. because I love the way that him and David play that solo. It's
the
very
keyboard guitar bit.
Yeah, it's a great combination of David and Richie, and it just sounds so fun. And if you listen to the whole Slip, the debut 1700 and Slippery, I think was more, how do I want to word this? Unleashed Richie. Richie.
Yeah.
I think Richie had more. I don't want to say
more input.
I would say I think he was more free to do stuff, because if you listen to those first three albums, especially 1700, it's so edgy, and like he's what makes all of those songs really good. Like you look at 1700, for example, the solo in Silent Night, the solo in Only Lonely, or just the guitar work in these songs. Hardest Part Is the Night, In and Out of Love. I mean, man, those have some balls to those songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, real rawness, a real bit of feeling to it. Yeah, absolutely agree with you.
And then you get on the Slippery album and like that slide guitar or intro and Without Love, I Die for You, and just so many amazing songs. But like I mentioned Only Lonely, I kind of want to make a little quick note because I was talking about this with someone yesterday. If you listen to the 1985 recording or any of the live performances from the 80s, the guitar was obviously really good. But if you go to the Circle tour, the guitar in that song is more distinct. Have you noticed? Like, listen to some soundtrack. Like, on the 1700 special edition that came out in 2010, they do. I think it's a sound check, and you hear Richie playing some of the solo without the singing yet, and it kind of goes back to my point of like Bad Medicine from 2000 soundcheck. It's more distinct, and you can hear sounds you don't normally hear when the song is being played in full.
Yeah. No, you're right there.
So, all right, you have one more song.
One more song. Probably, I think Let It Rock. Let It Rock is just a mad heavy tune, isn't it? The guitar solo is nuts.
I love the drive that Richie has in that song during the verses and chorus, and then obviously, like you said, the solo.
Yeah, it's just a heavy track, isn't it? With a lot of heavy drums. I know you hear the keyboard part at the beginning, but you really don't hear it for the rest of the song, do you? It's just overpowered with the guitars.
Yeah,
so
another example of not being able to hear certain parts of the song because of overpowering.
Yeah, and there's I think 2 or 3 guitars going on in that song, isn't there? Which is great, isn't that heavy, edgy sound? And like I said, the guitar solo is just nuts. It really is.
Absolutely. My last, so I could keep going on with Bon Jovi songs, and I could pick this solo, that solo, but I feel like we can't do a top 5 Richie solo if we don't mention his solo work. So I have to mention one of my favorite guitar solos that he's done is on 7 Years Gone, which is from his 3rd solo album, Aftermath of the Lowdown. I absolutely love the outro. I don't think it really like the vibe and the emotion of the song doesn't really match with the outro. I always thought it was like 2 completely different things put together, but in a weird way, it actually worked, And like when he was on Craig Ferguson back in 2012 when he was doing promo for the album, that outro was awesome. The way that he performed it live. There's a few live shows that he did with that song too, and man, you could tell he really loved that outro.
I think he really enjoyed himself doing that album, to be honest with you. Just the mood he was in, and he did perform on a few TV morning shows here in England.
Yeah.
Every Road That Leads Home to You was regularly played, and you could just see he was. I think maybe because he was out of his shell, I'm not too sure. He just looked a little bit different from previous tours, etc. But yeah, like that album, Richie's solo work, I'd probably go with Stranger in This Town. That is such a chilled out melody, isn't it?
Oh yeah, sure is. And we talk about guitar work too. I also want to mention We Are Magic from the RSO album. That song is underrated because I really love how he has the talk box in that intro. The bum 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 da, da, da. You know, as he's playing the guitar and then has the talk
Yeah,
box. Man, that's one of my other favorite guitar work that he's done solo. You know, it's simple yet really good.
effective. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally
So,
agree.
what before we conclude, what's your favorite Richie solo song?
Solo song. Oh, I don't know if I want to go with Every Road Leads Home to You or Stranger in This Town. A toss up between those two.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Or
Okay.
Ballad of Youth is another one, isn't it? So,
What's that?
Ballad of Youth.
I'm glad you mentioned Ballad of Youth. I love Ballad of Youth. The outro, the way that he ends the song, the ba ba, it's simple but yet so good, and the way that it
Yeah,
kind of just fades out at the end
yeah.
is
Great
awesome.
tune. Great singer, great guitar player. And probably the masked singer, as you've seen on Twitter.
Yeah, we can't talk about them because who knows if it's Richie.
Yeah.
No, but I I guess that had to be I'm saving that for another day, that conversation. But yeah, I to kind of conclude, I'm really happy to see where Richie is today. You know, he's really happy, he's healthy. I'm not going to say from what show, but you can tell how good he is sounding vocally. I mean, he
Yeah.
sounds phenomenal, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. I agree with
So,
you on that one.
yeah.
As good as ever.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Well, thank you for staying up late and taking the time to come on and talk about some of our favorite solos. And I appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks for having me. Absolute pleasure.
All right. Stay on as I end the recording, okay, buddy?
Okay. Take care.